Hi everyone, John Cottrell here of MBODY Yoga, and welcome to Soft Flow Yoga. Thanks for joining me. Now for this class, we're going to focus on a body part that often gets neglected. It's our feet and ankles. So sometimes we can get really stiff in our ankles. Just think about wearing boots or high heel shoes or sandals, anything like that that can confine our feet and toes. And so what's wonderful about yoga is that you get to free your feet and we're going to give them a little nurturing. So feet and ankles, or ankles and toes today. So for our props, you may want to have a nice big cushion or pillow to sit on. I've got my bolster here. I'm also sitting on a blanket. So a blanket or something soft to kneel on would be great. It could be a towel or even another yoga mat that you can roll out on top of your first one. And we need a couple of either yoga blocks, something firm. And I've got two here. You can also use some hardbound books, something that's stackable and that will support you. Alrighty, so that's all we'll need. And we'll begin our practice. So as always, we like to start in seated. So feel free to sit on your pillow or folded blanket underneath you. Take a nice full deep breath in and exhale out with a sigh. Try that again. Nice full breath in and exhale. Good. And just settle into slow, steady breaths. Our breathing meditation, mindful breathing, just to settle into the space and prepare our bodies and our minds for our practice. As you're breathing in and out, just notice how your body is responding to your breath. You may experience the rise and fall of your chest or your belly as you breathe in and out. And also listen to the sound of your breath. And if it's too soft, just turn up the volume a little bit so you can hear your breath, each inhale and each exhale. These are wonderful ways just to be more in tune with self, to be fully connected and in the moment. Good, just continue here. Now you're welcome to keep your eyes open, and if they are open, you're just gazing downward at the floor, nice soft eyes and eyelids. Or you can close your eyes. Just continue to focus on the feeling and the sound of your breath. In a moment, we'll add some movement to this breath, but first, just take 3 more slow, steady breaths. Continue your mindful breathing. And when you're ready, inhale and extend your arms out across the room and all the way up as you breathe in completely. Begin your exhale and extend your arms out and let them float back down to your side as you complete this first round of breath. Do that again. Inhale out, reaching with the arms, fingertips alive as you reach up towards the ceiling. Exhale, reaching out as if you're going to touch the walls on either side of you, and then back down. Now go ahead and continue at your own pace. So don't worry if you're moving with me or breathing at the same pace as I am. You can just keep your eyes closed and just focus on your own pace of breath and the awareness of your arms in motion as they slowly go up and down. Again, as you're breathing in, you're feeling the energetic arms reach out and up. Reach for the ceiling and feel like you're stretching to touch the sky. Exhale, reaching out, active fingers touch the imaginary walls on either side of you, and then back down. Also pay attention to the rest of your body, the lengthening through the sides of your body, the mobility of your shoulders. Now go ahead and finish the breath that you're on and then take 2 more breaths. Take your time, certainly no rush. And when you're complete, you can just let your arms rest down by your side. You can even just let them rest on your knees or in your lap. Just return to mindful breathing. From here, let's take the hands behind us and even prop yourself up onto your fingertips just so it makes your arms a little bit longer. I call them spider's legs. And with the arms behind us, we can also draw the shoulders back just to help open up the chest a little bit. This is our mild seated back bend. And then just tip your chin up just a bit, not to strain the neck. Now we're ready. Inhale, just press into the floor with your fingertips. Inhale at the same time, filling up your lungs. You might even feel this stretch quality across your chest from shoulder to shoulder as the chest expands with that inhale. Then exhale, and as you're able, pull your belly button in towards your spine. Again, inhale, press into the floor with the fingers. Breath rising, filling up your lungs. Exhale, pull belly button in, and as you're able, squeezing your shoulder blades together behind you. Now these two extra actions are just being aware of our core body. Our core is really just our torso. So from the front, we feel the belly button pull in to feel that strength and support in our low belly. And by drawing the shoulders back and trying to squeeze the shoulder blades together, we're activating the upper back body to engage those muscles for support. 2 more breaths here. And then just lower your chin, walk your hands towards yourself. Again, you can just let your hands rest in your lap and just feel your body come back to a more relaxed state. And just take a couple breaths. Now we're ready for our forward fold. So we like to do counter poses or these opposite poses. As you know, in yoga, there's so many opposites. You're moving in one direction, but at the same time, you might be moving in the opposite direction. Or you want to do a counter pose. If you're bending over backward, you want to then fold forward. So here, let's uncross the legs, if your legs are crossed, and we'll come to cobbler's pose or bound angle. So you're just going to have the soles of the feet together here. Knees are bent. But don't worry if the knees don't touch the ground because they don't have to touch the floor. What you may want to do is take your books or blocks or even some small pillows or rolled up towels, whatever you might have at the moment, and just let your legs rest on those props on either side of you. That way the legs can relax in this formation. And don't worry if the heels aren't close because they don't have to be close. That might be standard, but you don't have to have that, especially if the knees don't really bend as well or if you have any sensitivities in your knees. You can just send the feet forward. In that case, just hold on to your shins. You want to be able to sit up nice and tall here. So inhale and just feel that continued length of spine, filling up your lungs. As you exhale, we're still engaging the belly, drawing belly button in, and start to hinge forward a little bit. Notice how you're leading with your heart and your chin. And we're just going to pause right there. So I didn't move too far, but just as a nice angled upper body. Let me hold that. We'll take another breath in, continue that lengthening of the spine. Exhale, draw belly in and hinge forward a little bit more. Now feel free to stay just like this, maintaining that lengthened spine. We're actually going to hold this just a little bit longer, but we're going to soften the pose a little bit, and all I'm going to do is just lower the chin and then let the back round, and you'll be able to fold a little bit deeper. Now don't feel like you have to go all the way down or fold too far in this posture. Just folding enough where you start to feel a light stretch perhaps in the inner legs. Because of the curvature of the spine, maybe a nice stretch through your back body. And no matter how far away your feet are, you might be able to hold on to your feet. So since our focus today is on our ankles and our toes, let's just be aware of that. Maybe if you can, kind of scoop under your toes as if like you're holding them like in the basket of your hands. And just hold and breathe. Noticing the sensations in your body. I really like this pose because several things are happening. I do feel that stretch in the inner legs, a nice stretch in my back. Sometimes my back can feel quite stiff, and so this feels quite nice. I'm not forcing that stretch. I'm not forcing the pose. I'm not trying to push too hard, and that's exactly what we want to do in soft flow, is just take our time, be gentle and kind to ourselves. Let's take 3 more breaths here. And when you're complete, just notice your body formation. If your chin is down and your back is rounded, let's just lift the chin just to re-extend the neck. Also to help to start to re-extend the spine. We're going to hinge our way back up. Now, depending on how far down you are, you might be able to just lift yourself up, but you can also just place your hands on the mat and just press to help yourself come back up until you're nice and tall. And just hold onto your shins or ankles and feel the lengthening of the spine, taking a couple of breaths. All right, moving to our next posture. I'm going to move my blocks out of the way here. I'm going to carefully come to hands and knees. Go ahead and follow me. And if you have something soft to kneel on, go ahead and prepare yourself there. I've got my blanket. I like to unfold into a rectangle so I can have my knees at one end and my hands at the other. Now this is cat and cow. It really kind of focuses on the spine and the pelvis, but we're also going to add our toes, since that's our focus too. So inhale and just tip the chin up, looking forward. We're arching the back so it creates this back bend. You kind of feel the sensation of the belly dropping towards the floor, and the pelvis tips back. That's an inhale cow pose. Exhale, let's actually start with the back end. Try to tuck the pelvis under, and as you do so, the back starts to naturally round. Pull your belly button up towards spine and gently tuck the chin towards chest. This is cat pose. And then reverse it again, starting with the back end. Let the pelvis tip back, belly drops, heart opens. There's our back bend, looking forward. Cow pose. Exhale into cat, rounding the spine, chin to chest. And just continue to move at your own breath pace. Feeling this wonderful undulation of the spine. Getting some nice mobility through the whole back body, in addition to the pelvis as it's rocking forward and back. As you're doing this, just pay attention quickly to your feet. At the moment, my feet are just kind of flat. They're just kind of relaxed back there. Toes are pointing to the back of the room. I'm getting a gentle, maybe lengthening through the tops of the feet, affecting the ankles, but really no effort of stretching or pressing or engaging with the feet at the moment. Just awareness of how the feet are situated. Continuing with your cat-cow flow. Finish the breath that you're on and take one more. And when you're complete, just pause in this neutral tabletop position. Now when doing this pose, sometimes our wrists become fatigued because of the pressure we add to the hands and wrists here, so we like to take a little break. This is where the toes can come involved, or be aware of the feet as we relax the hands. Let's tuck the toes, alrighty? And then walk the hands towards the knees, putting a little bit of weight and pressure towards the toes in a way to lighten the hands. Let's focus on the hands for a moment. Since the hands are in this forced flex position, I just want to flip them so they get another stretch this way. Sometimes I like to give them a very light pulse on my blanket just to counter that. But other things that can help are just simple circles, of the wrist or even wiggling your fingers. Now let's pay attention to the toes because we're sitting back and actually putting some weight back here and getting a stretch for the toes here. It actually helps to open and stretch the soles of the feet as you do this too. If you have plantar fasciitis, that very painful situation that can happen in your soles of the feet, it's the ligaments kind of getting all bound up and tight. And this can be a great stretch for that. You don't want it to hold that too long because you might feel like it's overstretching. And I'm starting to feel that now. So I'm going to come back out onto my hands and then come to the tops of the feet and then again sit back. Now you can kind of play with the pressure. If you sit all the way down, that's certainly going to be much more pressure. Certainly on the tops of the feet here, the ankles, but you can always lighten that up by coming forward. You can even pulse that a little bit, depending on how much pressure you want on the tops of the feet. Alrighty, so finishing with that, let's get ready for downward facing dog. I'm crawling off of the mat, or off of my blanket, and just setting it to the side. Return to hands and knees. Step the hands forward a little bit, and as you do so, spread out your fingers pretty wide so you can feel that stretch between each finger. And lean into the hands, or put a little bit more weight into the palms so they open up. Press. And as you press with some firmness and effort, feel the energy, length, and strength in your straight arms right here. We're going to tuck the toes again. Now, cat, cow. Inhale for cow, that's the back bend. Exhale into cat, hold cat. Now we tuck the toes under because that's going to help us get into downward facing dog. As you push hands into the floor with the toes tucked, push into the toes so you can lift the knees off the mat and then send your hips into the air. Your chest will start to naturally sink between the arms. Now you might need to tiptoe forward a little bit with the feet so it doesn't feel like they're going to slip out from underneath you. You might even adjust your hands. I like to take my hands a little wider. Let's hold for a moment. Remember, flat palms, straight arms, ears just right alongside the arms. Bend your knees quite a bit so the hips can lift up into the air. Now, you might be on your toes. Heels probably don't touch the floor, and that's just fine. But while we're here, let's pedal the feet. So one at a time, I'm pressing one heel down towards the floor. Again, it doesn't have to touch the floor. To feel a stretch in the calf muscles as I press the heels down, but then lift the heels so you can feel a stretch in the toes and the soles of the feet. I'm just pedaling like I'm pedaling a bicycle or I'm walking, and sometimes I call this walk the dog. All right, arms are getting a little tired, so let's pause and then take a few steps forward, perhaps just to the center of the mat so your feet are flat on the mat. And then slide your fingertips towards your toes. You'll be in a forward fold. Now a return to our back body. Sometimes in this forward fold, if you take a peek at me, I'm just lifting my head forward, which is engaging the head and neck. If you can, just let the head relax. Let it drop. So maybe you see between your knees towards the wall behind you. This is a pretty significant stretch. If this is too much, let's go ahead and do this. Inhale and slide your hands up to your shins or knees, only rising up halfway, and we'll hold. So we're parallel to the floor here. I do want to feel very connected and grounded to the floor here. So my feet are flat. I'm not weighted back in my heels. I'm not leading or leaning into my toes. So very centered, keeping a good knee bend, which engages the legs to help me hold in place. My hands are either on my shins or thighs for continued support. Lengthen spine, again parallel to the floor. Let's start to stand up. Now we do want to shift the weight into the heels so the toes feel a little lighter. Bend your knees to lower your hips like you're sitting down. At the same time, lifting upper body. So as best as you can, keeping a straight back. We're almost in a chair pose here. Take the arms out to the side. Push the heels into the floor to help straighten the legs. As you get taller, standing up all the way, and with an inhale, reaching both arms up into the sky. Then exhale, reaching out like you did seated, reaching across the room, and allow the arms to come back down to your side. So we've made it to our first standing pose. Let's just take a moment maybe just to roll the shoulders a few times backward and a few times forward. There we go. All right, let's do our half salute to the sun where we fold forward and then come back up. When you're ready, inhale, extend your arms out and up, another nice stretch. Exhale, take your arms out to the side, really for balance. Bending your knees, I'm sitting back into an imaginary chair. I do feel the weight start to shift into my heels and my hips. I can lift my toes there a little bit and then let the arms drop, let gravity start to take over. Back rounds, head releases. I can see between my knees to the back of the room. Then inhale and slide the hands back up to the shins, knees, or thighs, rising up halfway. Pause here. Situate the feet so they're firm on the floor. You feel balanced. Keep that knee bend and just sense that you're parallel to the floor. Shifting weight again to the heels, toes feel light, just give them a little tap. Bend the knees to lower your hips, sit into your imaginary chair, lifting chest so we're almost in chair pose, arms out to the side, drive heels into the floor, straight legs as you stand tall. Inhale, reach a little higher towards the sky. Exhale, arms return to your side. Very good. Another circle of the shoulders if you like. All right, we'd like to do a variation of Warrior 1 and Warrior 2 in a standing position. And because it gets into the legs and hips, we'll also pay attention to the feet. Let's once again start in mountain pose and set ourselves up. We'll start by softening the knees, keeping a nice knee bend. Shift weight into your right foot. Just root and connect into your right foot. Even lean forward a little bit. You might even feel your toes start to grip the mat. That just gives you some good toe strength when you feel like you have to grip with your toes. That should leave the left foot kind of light. I'm just lifting the left heel and just hold that. Okay, just lift the heel. Just notice these sensations. Alrighty? And then start tapping that foot back, heel lifted, until it doesn't go back anymore. And I feel pretty balanced here. All right, just hold that for a moment. Flat on this foot, leaning forward. I'm gripping the mat with toes, so notice that sensation. Back heel is lifted. I'm going to outwardly spiral or outwardly rotate this whole left leg to plant the heel or whole foot into the floor. So now I feel balanced right here. Go ahead and place hands on hips. Push pelvis down, or imagine you're pushing pelvis down. At the same time, feel tall in your torso and spine. And then start to turn to face forward. Inhale from here, reaching arms out and then up into the air. Bend elbows to about 90 degrees, something like this. This is our variation of Warrior 1. So what's happening? So we don't have too much distance between the feet in our lunge here. We do want to feel balanced, however. Right knee and toes are pointing forward, and the arms are bent instead of being straight up into the air. Let's go ahead and extend the arms straight up into the sky. Exhale, bring the arms out and then down and to your hips. We're going to put a little bit more weight into this front foot so we can free up the left foot behind us so I can actually lift and just take a step back. We just need a little bit more distance between the feet as we get into our Warrior 2. So I'm still facing forward. Inhale, extend the arms straight up. Now, as we exhale, let's start turning the torso towards the left side of the room. Make sure your right knee is still pointing forward. It's not following your heart this way. It's still pointing forward. So turning to the side as your arms come down to parallel, right about there. Now, I like to make an adjustment. I'm going to bring my arms down for a moment because my leg feels like it's turned in, and I can feel a slight binding in my left hip. So all I do is just kind of get onto my heel back here and just kind of spin that leg open. That just feels more natural for my leg. So you can always adjust this back leg and foot. Making sure my right knee is nicely bent. I'm going to take my arms back out to the side parallel to the floor. Nice long neck. Now you can just keep the head facing the same direction as your heart, or gently turn your head towards your right hand, just to get a little stretch in the neck. Let's hold here for a moment. Again, feet feel firm on the floor, strong foundation. We're going to bring this left arm up and around, facing forward. Flip the palms up and then fold. Bringing hands to the floor here. Rise up onto tiptoes, just like this. I call this a runner's lunge. So I'm on my fingertips and this back heel is lifted. I'm bending this back knee, which actually gets into the toes a little bit there too, but this is a way to kind of step forward. I call this a launch. Just a little push to step forward up to the top of the mat, and that returns us to a forward fold. Let's inhale, slide the hands up to the shins or knees, pause briefly in our half forward fold, and then continue to shift into the heels, light toes, give them a tap, bend the knees, lower the hips, lift the chest, arms out to the side, rise up, reach up, nice big stretch, exhale, arms return to your side. Very good. Let's do the same thing on the other side. So our Warrior 1, Warrior 2 variations with some mindfulness of the feet. Start with soft knees, shifting weight into the left foot, lean forward, grip mat with the left set of toes, feel that activation, lift the right heel, stretching the toes and the sole of the foot. Go ahead and do it one more time, just set the heel down and then re-lift. I just did a little light stretch. Again, noticing the gripping toes and the lifted heel. Now stepping or tapping the right foot back until it just naturally stops. There we are. Gripping toes, lifted heel, stretching the toes behind us. Outward rotation of that back leg to plant the foot, find your center. That should take the pressure off the toes as well. Place hands on hips. You're going to push the pelvis down. Feel the torso lift. So you have some space in the belt line so you can make a little turn towards forward. Inhale, extend the arms out and up. Exhale, bend elbows to our 90 degrees. Here's our variation of Warrior 1. Check in with the feet. Feel balanced on 2 feet. Slight bend of this left knee. Knee and toes are pointing forward. And let's get set up for our Warrior 2. Inhale, extend the arms up into the air. Exhale, arms out and down to the hips. Lean forward, again, putting a little weight into this front foot, lifting that back heel so I can just take a step back, creating a little bit more distance between the feet for our Warrior 2 setup. I'm still facing forward. Inhale, re-extend the arms straight up into the air. Exhale, turning torso towards the right side of the room. Remember, left knee is still pointing forward. It's not going anywhere. Arms come down to parallel. Pause for a moment. Check in with this back leg. It's the same thing for me where I want to kind of lean into the heel so I can spin that leg out. More natural sensation for my leg and foot. Checking in, outstretched arms. Left knee, toe still pointing forward. Now I'm going to turn my head so I'm facing out towards the left hand for a gentle stretch in the neck. Here's our Warrior 2. To complete, let's bring this right arm up into the air, around to the front. Flip the palms up and then carefully fold. I'm just going to land on my fingertips, then rise up onto my tiptoes with my right foot and just squares out everything. It aligns everything so everything is facing forward in a more natural fashion. That heel is lifted. I'm going to bend that knee, getting a little bit more stretch in those toes, and then push to step forward into forward fold. Nice complete release. Inhale, slide the hands up to the shins or knees. Pause halfway up. Then finish standing, shifting weight into the heels. Bend the knees to lower the hips, lifting chest, outstretched arms. Inhale, rising up, reaching into the sky. Big stretch. Exhale, arms down to your side. Well done. Okay, so it's really just doing poses we've done before, but just taking our awareness to other parts of the body. In this case, we got to focus on our toes. All right, let's go through another sun salutation, making our way down to the earth. So of course, our second variations of Warrior One and Warrior Two in this sequence. Nice and tall, mountain pose. Again, start with soft knees. Let's inhale, take both arms out and up. Exhale, arms out to the side, bend your knees, sit back into the imaginary chair. Weight shift into the hips and heels. Toes are light, see if you can lift them. Let gravity take over. Arms drop, head drops. See between the knees. Inhale, just slide the hands up to the shins or knees to rise up halfway. We're gonna keep this moving. Exhale, slide down. Bend the knees more so you can reach the floor with the palms. And just start walking the feet back. Take as many steps as you need to the back end of your mat. Make sure your palms are flat on the mat. Toes are back there, but then lower the hips just until they're about shoulder level. Here we are. Plank pose. Very strong upper body position, but let's pay attention to the feet once again. So we're on our toes, lifting the heels, getting a stretch there. Breathe in. As you exhale, bend your knees like you're about to kneel to the floor, but send the hips up into the air instead. Take a tiny step forward. Adjust the feet, adjust the hands. Let's pedal the feet like we did earlier. Walk the dog. Press one heel down as the other heel lifts, and then alternate. You might exhale as you press the heel down because you'll feel that stretch in the calf muscles. Remember, we're getting into the toes, the soles of the feet, also gets into the front portion of the ankles, and of course our calves. Pause, and let's get ready for our Warrior One setup. I'm stepping my left foot a little bit more towards center so I can pick up the right foot, extend the right leg straight back into the air, just reaching to the back wall. As I exhale, bend the right knee. Bring the right knee in underneath towards chest or chin, shifting the whole upper body forward until the shoulders are over the wrists. And set the right foot down. You'll be on your toes again. That heel is lifted. But then set the left knee onto the floor. A lot of pressure in the hands. Let's take that pressure away from the hands by shifting back so your hand is light. Lifting the right hand, you might even just kind of circle it or shake it out just to relieve it. But then go get your right foot by picking up from the ankle and step it forward. So it just kind of lands behind the right hand, right at the wrist. Replant the hands. Let's relift that back left knee. And to turn that leg so the heel can push into the floor. I need more weight back there, so I'm going to walk the hands back so I can put more pressure into that back foot. Right knee and toes are pointing forward. My alignment is here where my spine or torso is out over the right thigh, head pointing forward. Climb up the leg, maybe bring the hands up to your mid-thigh. As you push into the thigh, that should allow you to help extend spine. You're at 45 degrees, lots of good pressure in that back foot. Arms out to the side, then up into the air. Inhale, so you're now perpendicular to the floor. Let's hold here for a second for Warrior One. So our second version of Warrior One, a little bit more distance between the feet, heart facing forward, arms straight up. Here we go. Inhale. Exhale, turn torso towards the left side of the room. Arms come down to parallel. Check in with the legs. Your right knee is still pointing forward. I am going to outwardly turn that left leg for a more natural position. Right there. Strong feet. Let's relax the arms here for a moment because I want us to pay attention to what's happening to this back foot. Alrighty? Because something, again, we don't always pay attention to. Now the leg is relatively straight. There's a softness in the knee. The foot is planted onto the floor, but we're not stacked entirely over that ankle. We're at an angle here, which means the ankle is at an angle. That's hard to say. The ankle is at an angle, which is good. This is a light stretch, very light stretch, okay, for the outside, the outer portion of the ankle because of this angle. Right knee and toes pointing forward here. All right, to come out of the pose, I call this a big windmill or a cartwheel to bring this left arm around to the front. Flick the palms up like so and fold. Carefully bring hands to the floor, just to the fingertips. Return to the tiptoes behind you, aligning everything in the body, mostly the hips.
I'm going to plant the palms down, push firmly into the floor, even try to lift the hips a little bit. I want to take some weight off this right foot so I can pull or slide it back. So I'm in plank pose. Alrighty, lower the hips a little bit to shoulder level. There's plank. We're on our toes, heels lifted. Inhale. Exhale, bend knees and hips into the sky. Chest sinks between the arms. Make some adjustments with the feet and your hands as necessary. Let's pedal the feet again, pushing one heel down as the other heel lifts, and then alternate, maybe a couple times on each side. Feel what's happening in the ankles, soles of the feet, and your toes, and of course your calves. Getting ready for the lunges. Let's step the right foot to center on the mat, really for balance. Pick up the left foot and then inhale to extend the left leg into the air behind you. Just straight back is fine. Exhale, bend this left knee. Bring the knee in underneath you towards your chest or chin. You're shifting forward so your shoulders are over the wrists. Then you're going to set the left foot down, heel lifted. Set the right knee down. Take that weight and pressure away from the hands. Let's relieve the left hand. Shake it about if you need to. Wiggle the fingers. Then go get the left ankle. Pick up the foot and step it up a little higher on your mat. Let's go ahead and relift the right knee. We're going to turn that back leg to get the heel to the floor. There's still too much weight up front, so I'm just stepping the hands back, sending the energy back, more pressure in that back foot. I'm aligning my torso out over the left thigh, left knee and toes pointing forward. I'm going to climb up the leg, hands to thigh here, just to support myself really, and then to extend the torso. Extra pressure in that back foot. Again, we're thinking about, or you can be thinking about, that angle in the ankle, getting a light stretch. Since our hip isn't stacked over the ankle bone here, but that foot needs to be turned a bit. So we're finding mobility in the ankle on this plane. Let's extend the arms out and then up, reaching into the sky perpendicular to the floor. Hold here for a moment in Warrior One. Left knee and toes pointing forward. You're facing forward as well. Arms straight up, that back leg straight, but there's a softness in the knee, awareness of the back foot. As best as you can, that whole outside edge of the foot is connected to the floor. Inhale. Exhale, turn torso towards the right side of the room. Arms come down to parallel. Make any adjustments with that back foot as needed. Awareness of the ankle in motion in order for that whole foot to be planted on the floor. Here's our Warrior Two. Here comes our big windmill as we bring the arm up and around to the front. You're facing forward. You can flip the palms up, carefully fold onto the hands, rise up onto your tiptoes behind you. I call this a runner's lunge. Extra pressure into the floor with the hands, strong arms. Lift your hips in order to take some of that pressure off that left foot to slide it back. We're on our toes again. Plank pose. I'm just going to straighten out a little bit. Let's bring knees to the floor. While we're here, go ahead and flatten the feet. Let's do 2 breaths, cat and cow. So inhale, look up, arch the back. That's our back bend. Exhale, round it out, just to keep that nice mobility in the spine and that movement through the pelvis. Here's our second one. And then come to a neutral position. Keeping the feet flat. Start walking the hands back so you can start to send your hips down towards the heels. You don't have to go all the way down. You want to be mindful of how this feels in your knees, your shins, and of course your ankles. Okay, so if you do have stiff ankles, this may not be the most comfortable position. Even if you get here, you can always immediately get out of the pose, just to introduce the body to this stretch, because it is pretty significant. I'm going to go ahead and come up and out. I remember when I first started practicing yoga and trying to do that pose, my ankles were so tight. That was so hard to do. I thought I would never be able to do that. But over time, as the shins, okay, the top of the feet, even the back of the feet, ankles and calves started to loosen up a little bit, it worked out. Now I'm on tucked toes, same thing. I'm just going to send the body weight back just to get some pressure into the toes. You probably feel this in the toes initially, but this does affect the soles of the feet. A couple more breaths. And then coming out. Or we are going to take a seat, which might mean you do want to flatten the feet a little bit here. Sit back, but not very long, just very temporarily. Just going to send the hips to the side so you can swing the legs out to the front. Let's just hold here and seated for a moment. Let's extend the legs out in front, straight as can be, but you can always put a bend in the knees. And to support your upper body, place your hands on the mat by your hips and just push into the floor to help extend the spine. Even roll the shoulders back. Let's just do a few things here with the feet. I'm actually going to adjust my hands a little bit so I have a little bit more support. That's it. All I did was, same thing like what I did with my legs and feet. I just turned the hands out a little bit. This just feels a bit more natural. So right now, my feet are flexed, trying to push or send my heels forward. And notice how that feels, or what that feels like in your feet, even your legs. Keeping the feet flexed, you're going to do an outward rotation of the whole leg. So it's not just the feet turning out, but it's actually the whole leg, which starts up here. And just let them turn out and just see where they go. And then bring them back up. Now let's point the toes. Point through the toes. New sensation arises. Notice what that feels like, especially with the tops of the feet. We're going to flex, turn out, bring them back in, toes point. We'll do that one more time. Flex, turn out, back up to center, point. And then just relax the feet. Let's come back to cobbler's pose for a moment, just to get that stretch out of the legs. And just hold on to the ankles, sitting up nice and tall. Something that you can do here, let me turn to face you. Because what we just did on the floor, that was just flexing the feet, flexing the whole foot, which can affect the top of the foot here. But another thing I like to do is getting a little extra stretch to kind of get through the toes and the balls of the foot. So very gently, what you can do, this is my left leg, but let's imagine it's your right leg. So I'm mirroring you. So take your right leg, bend the knee and draw it in using this hand. I'm just kind of scooping up the toes here and just gently pulling back. Okay, gently pulling back. Okay. Just getting a light stretch. It's as if we were doing those, like walking the dog a little bit, but instead just using your own hand to create that flex. And maybe that stretch that's happening through the sole of the foot. Okay, let's relax that. I'm just going to extend that leg and just do the same on the other side. So I'm just gently pressing the toes back. And what's nice is that you have control over this. You can manage how much of a stretch you want to create there, depending on how this feels in your toes, the balls of the foot, and certainly the sole of the foot. And then just relax. All right, now we're going to lie down. We do want to have our solid books or blocks right next to us and ready to go. Go ahead and roll down onto your back carefully and go ahead and draw the knees into chest. This is great because one of my favorite things to do when the feet are free is that let's get some mobility in the feet because we're standing a lot. You know, we might be balancing on one foot. There's all the angles and stretching of the feet and toes. So when we come to seated, we can do those little stretches like we just did, and then lying down, you can really free the feet. And here, I'm just circling the ankles, okay? Really getting into the mobility and functionality, perhaps, of the ankle. So circle in one direction a few times and certainly the other direction. That should really be nice for the ankles. And as you're doing that, just notice how all the muscles work as you're doing this. Flex the feet, point, flex, point, circle, all those wonderful movements. And if you can, wiggle your toes. All right, now we're just going to place the feet onto the floor. Knees are bent. Right here, want the feet right underneath the knees for good leverage. So we're going to lift into bridge pose. And this is where you want your books or blocks. All righty, breathing in, fill up your lungs. Exhale through the mouth. And then pressing feet into the floor, lifting hips just high enough to send or set a block or a book underneath you. I just took one block at the moment and just turned it up one notch. So I just have the sense of being lifted into the air. But what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to use 2 blocks. They're just side by side. They're not stacked. I'm just having them side by side. Because I'm going to kind of heel toe my feet out a little wider. That's just me. That just feels better for me and for my back and my hips. I'm going to get my shoulders a bit underneath me. I'm just going to lift my left shoulder in this case and get the shoulder underneath and then the other, just to feel a bit more opening in the chest. So that's kind of our supported back bend or supported bridge pose, lifted hips but not lifting too high. We're sitting, so there's a little bit more of a relaxed feeling. But we're going to focus on the feet and ankles here. Feet are still firm on the floor depending on where they are. You're going to try to kind of send the feet in closer towards yourself a little bit, as best as you can, and then just lift the heels. Lift the heels. You're really activating the calf muscles, okay, to lift the heels. But since there's not a whole lot of pressure, hopefully there shouldn't be too much pressure on the toes, but you're lifting the heels. Let's just take 2 more breaths. And then you can sit the feet back down. What made it so there wasn't too much pressure on the toes or the heels is because you're sitting. Now, if we were not using those blocks, we have to support ourselves on the feet and toes, which you can do if you wanted to. We can even practice that here. Feet are flat on the floor. Right now you might be sitting on your prop, but with a good exhale, press feet firmly into the floor to lift the hips. Now you're going to feel that extra work in the feet. Lifting up the heels, and if you can, stepping the heels or feet a little closer towards yourself so you have a little bit more leverage and support, and lift. You can notice the difference here. A little bit more activation, a little bit more work involved. You don't have to stay here too long. And then set the hips back down, send the feet forward or flat on the mat to relax. Let's take 3 more breaths. Let's go ahead and lift the hips high enough off the block so you can move them out of the way, and then carefully send your way down to the mat. Go ahead and extend both legs out in front of you. If the shoulders were kind of tucked underneath you, let's release them as well. So you're almost coming to Shavasana. Just hold here for a second. All right, let's draw just the right knee into chest. I'm just catching my shin in my hands. And keep the left leg straight out onto the floor. But let's flex the foot, okay? Feeling as if the heel is moving forward, toes are pointing up. It's an activated left leg. The right knee we've drawn in so that foot is free. So we're going to flex, point, circle one direction. I went to the outside. Flex, point, circle to the inside. Flex, point. You might want to flex again, circle to the outside. Flex, point, flex, circle to the inside. Alrighty? And we'll set that foot down and extend the leg. Flex the foot. It activates that side, and it also helps us to stay mindful of that right side.
Let's draw left knee in, same thing. First, you might just want to feel the looseness of the foot. Give it a few circles here. Remember, right foot is flexed. So now left foot that you have in the air, flex, point, flex again, circle to the outside. Flex, point, flex again, circle to the inside. Do that one more time. Flex, point, flex, circle to the outside. Flex, point, flex again, circle to the inside. And then just kind of loosen it up. And again, with your hands on your shin, you might feel all that musculature, all the workings of the body as you make these movements. Let's draw both knees into chest. If you need to, you can circle the ankles again. And just another light hip opener. Let's flex the feet a little bit. Take the legs wide. What I like to do is keep the arms really bent so I can set the elbows on the floor, okay, for support. Open the palms a little bit like I'm holding platters in my hands or trays in my hands, and let the legs just kind of rest on the legs. And we kind of did this while we were seated. We were in that cobbler's pose, sitting up nice and tall. Feet were together, knees were bent out to the side. We just tucked those books or blocks underneath for support. You're just doing the same thing here, just with your hands. And getting a light stretch in the inner legs. And feel free, remember, just keep that movement in the feet and ankles. If you want, wiggle the toes. Whenever your feet are free in this fashion, just give your legs, your feet, your toes a little nurturing. All right, let's bring the knees together. Let's take a twist. We're going to send the knees first over to the left side of the room. I like to extend my right arm straight up towards the ceiling and then swing it out carefully out to the right side of the room, just to feel that nice opening. My left hand is just adding a little weight over here on the knees, pointing in that direction, and take some deep breaths. Let's take 3 more breaths on this first side. If this feels good, feel free to stay here longer. No worries. You can certainly do that. When you're ready, let's return to center. Just catch the knees or shins. Pause here so your hips and your back can realign. And again, maybe another quick circle of the feet. Wiggle the toes. And then when you're ready, send the knees over to the right side. Extend the left arm straight up and swing it open to the left side of the room. Now, because my blocks happen to be on my right side, my legs landed on the blocks. That just means I'm not rotating as far, which is a wonderful modification of the pose. Just in case you have any sensitivity in your back or hips, have something tucked underneath the legs, between you and the floor, or even between the legs, between your knees. It could be a rolled up pillow, or a rolled up blanket, towel, or place a pillow, or a block between the knees. And for me, this feels just right. I don't feel like I'm overextending the body. And 2 more breaths. When you're ready, let's bring the knees back up to center, allowing the spine to realign. And then you can go ahead and set the feet onto the floor. Now pause here, because this might be your resting posture. We're at the end of our practice. This might feel just fine for your Shavasana, because sometimes lying flat on the mat might feel uncomfortable. So just having the knees bent like this with feet on the floor is a nice alternative. Also show another alternative using a big pillow or a cushion underneath the knees. You can certainly extend the legs, but just notice how that might feel
in your back body or hips. And of course the feet are free here so the ankles can just kind of fall out naturally. But what you can do is kind of find that balance. I'm going to roll to my side so I can press myself up. Because I'm going to bring in my cushion, my bolster here, and slide it underneath me, underneath the knees, so I get a slight bend in the knees, but my feet are still free. So this might be a nice alternative to fully bent knees or fully straight legs. Just something propped underneath you, and just check in to see if this feels right for your back, your legs, feet. And once you are settled into your Shavasana pose, take a deep breath in, maybe exhale through your mouth, releasing any tension, and feel the body melt into the earth. You can keep your eyes open, just soft eyelids, maybe softly gazing upward, not really looking at anything, or just close your eyes. Turn your focus inward, but your focus here is on release and relaxation as we come to the end of our practice, having focused on our feet and ankles and toes. Feel the heaviness of the body. Let it melt into the earth. Still noticing your breath. It might be a little softer, but that's okay. Even if it is soft, see if you can hear it. Pay attention. Stay in the moment. You're welcome to stay here as long as you'd like. This is your practice. So if you found a wonderfully comfortable position, stay here for a while. What you may want to do while you're here is just continue to check in with breath. Sometimes our minds like to wander away, and we start thinking about other things. That's okay, but if you're able to catch yourself in thought, just take a deep breath. And as you exhale, imagine you're just blowing that thought to the side. So you can return to this moment, staying completely aware and present for the remainder of your Shavasana meditative practice. Once again, you're welcome to stay here as long as you'd like. Even as I end the practice and I come up to seated to complete our session together, you can remain here in your Shavasana pose. And when you are ready to move, take your time. You might start with deeper breaths, maybe 5 deep breaths, just to bring energy to the body, more awareness to the entire body, generating a new energy within you, and maybe feeling movement return to your body. Take your time, moving very slowly. And when you feel ready, slowly take your time, roll to one side of your body, and press into the earth to help lift yourself up.
until you come to a seated position. Maybe crossing the legs, sitting up tall. You might even sit on a soft prop. Let your arms relax down by your side. Take a breath. And then one last movement together. Let's inhale, extend the arms out and up. And as you exhale, bring your palms together and down to your heart. And then take one more full and complete breath on your own. And as we come to the close of our practice together, we bow, saying, Namaste. Thank you so much for watching and participating in this yoga lesson. To help us with the channel so we can continue to bring you more content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It's really appreciated. Namaste.